Hey, Futurizers, Azali here from Raised Voices. I just needed to come in before this conversation started to let you know that we are now looking at inclusion as part of personal development. We're hoping that you're going to enjoy this conversation that we're going to be having right now with Faith Clarke. This is a professional woman. She is quite studied, as we like to say. And we're just hoping that you're going to really glean some knowledge from this. This is conversation one, even though it's in two parts, and also that you will share this and you will lean in for the rest of the conversation. So I just want you guys to know where we were going and why are we bringing this topic, is because so many people are talking about inclusion. Listen, do me a favor. I need you to share, subscribe, and comment. Please come and support Raised Voices. And now, let's join the conversation. Oh boy, Futurizers, listen, let me tell y'all. Good day, good morning, good afternoon, bonjour. If it's evening, bonsoir. Hey, ¿cómo allez-vous? ¿Cómo estás usted? Like all of the stuff, you know what I'm trying to say? I'm trying to get adopted by all the nations. Now, I didn't say I was going to do all the cultural things.
Right.
Yeah, I want to
working through our Duolingo.
Yeah, we just trying to do the practice of the Duolingo, okay? Until I travel, I must practice. So listen, you guys already know we are here once again for another awesome conversation. This one is going to go in many areas. However, overall, what I want you guys to know is that we're talking about inclusion. I'm leaving it as one word because, like I said, I don't want to be strapped in to the chair and can't unbuckle. I did say that. Okay, stop taking what I say as a threat or warning. I'm a cultural woman. I'm Black, this house. All right, you're right. I was warning you nicely, though, with good manners. So listen, today we have an amazing guest in the house. Miss Faith Clarke is here with us. But as you know, there are some house rules. Still those rules, huh? Y'all still waiting for them to go? Send a prayer request because it's not going to happen. I told you guys that not all boundaries are negative or bad. So one of the boundaries Miss Sound and I have is that we have to pay attention to our house rules. So when you come in our house and we tell you, you can do it. Is that accountability? Just do your humming and relax. It is. It really is. As you guys know, we love to start with a word of the day. Now, sometimes we let y'all slip and slide. Sometimes. But don't expect that every time because we back to basics. Oh, yeah. Word of the day. Miss Sounds got it for us. And listen, for y'all see the candle in the back. You see it? Because Miss Sound is bringing the ultimate spa voice today on this topic. She's gentle and kind. I said, Miss Sounds, look over there. I didn't say Azali. Why are you looking at me?
Oh my goodness, yes.
I'm in boot camp with Miss Sounds, so I have my candles so that my spiritual gentleness and kindness can show up on the podcast. Miss Sounds, I gotta mess with you people, but I'm gonna hand them over to you, Mama.
I appreciate you. Welcome everybody to this. This is going to be a great conversation today. Before we jump in, welcome Faith. We just welcome you to the podcast. It's good seeing you and being with you.
It's lovely to be here. Wagwan.
Hey, come on.
In the house. Where one? Okay, I'm not gonna start. Okay, back to my English.
Okay. We like to warm the conversation up before we get into it by doing something called Word of the Day. And so what that's going to entail is I'm going to read a quote that really I feel like will speak to us, and we each get to reflect in the moment what it means in this present moment for us. So let me just start by reading the quote. It says, "It took me quite a long time to develop a voice. And now that I have it, I'm not going to be silent." Let's breathe that in for a second. Oh, that's good. That's a good one. I am going to ask you, Faith, in this moment, what does that mean to you? And we're just going to go in a circle and just talk about it.
Yeah, I think that's pretty potent. I just finished writing a piece with a colleague on Black women's voices. And in the doing of it, just the mirroring of my own journey with voice, and that was just a few days ago. Um, have always felt this combination of invisible and too much. And
Mm,
so the whole struggling for voice, it's that am I the voice shouting in the wilderness and no one hears?
mm,
And then when they hear, people have said, Faith, you're like a fire hose. And it really, there's a way that fire hose wasn't given to me as something that felt positive.
mm.
It was part of the too muchness and and for me as a Black woman, the closing down because of the too muchness. And so for in this moment, I am continuing to receive the invitation to put fires the fire hoses do and to receive that as gift,
Yeah,
but also to be willing to take up the space that I inhabit with my words. But it's a daily process for me. So
sure. Oh, that's beautiful. Azali, I see some rumbling up in there.
No, I needed to go
What
to
you think?
you because
You want to go for it and then you
to
ended
you
up
because
okay.
I feel like there's some twinning and it's not the tea. That's I'm
Yeah,
talking
yeah,
the
yeah.
company. So I'm just gonna let you do that because I'm gonna sit and chill out.
Oh, absolutely. I resonate with all of that. For me, my journey has been a journey from the external world to the inside of me. And so what I've realized is that over the years, a lot of the silence that has been a part of my experiences because I allow the external voices to silence it. I've allowed the opinions of other people about me and about how I take up space to really dim that voice, and to the point where I buried it at one point and I was no longer speaking. Like the world around me was speaking for me. And it didn't feel authentic to me until I woke up one day and realized I haven't been talking. It's not me. I haven't been talking. It's everybody else that has been talking for me or about me. And when I think about not being silent anymore, it's this courageous, bold decision to say that whether this is received well or not, obviously, um, I want to be the most authentic in how I show up and how I speak. And even though this is not received well or may rub against some cultural expectations, I need to take the journey and I need to take the risk. So that resonates a lot with me as a Black woman in America and as a African woman as well. So all of these parts of me, um, I think they culminate into this person that is now ready to speak and speak truthfully. Yeah.
can I just add? I just want to say that I think that that's a journey of self-trust, and it's a
Sure.
journey that I'm still on because the courage to speak and then to not be received as you're saying, and the messages in our society that reinforce to us that our voices are not trustworthy,
Sure.
to then decide that I will trust myself in spite of, that's the
Yeah,
so.
absolutely.
Are we allowed to run around the virtual room? I'm just who got the rule book?
You
I'm
have the rule
feeling.
book.
Oh yeah!
Yes.
Wow. Yeah. Oh my gosh! Listen, I love everything you guys are saying. It's funny because I will call this a confession time. What I'm going to say for me, this is just me, guys, not my guest, not Miss Sounds, right? Individual. I am now trying to find the hybrid of the voice that wants to be raised in saying,
give me a minute to get it together. Like, don't take me back to my childhood. Just give me a minute. I'm going to get it together. And the voice that says, we ain't even got to say nothing. Trying to find a hybrid there. Because like what you guys are saying, that people have in many ways, intentional or not, because some is very intentional, they have tried to tell you what your voice ought to be, what the tone of it ought to be, how loud it ought to be, when you should use it, when you shouldn't use it, why you should use it.
Yeah.
And what you should use it for. Right. And so I was the invisible kid. The good thing about that was that I realized there was a power in that nobody had told me about. So there is the hurt and the trauma from being invisible, having no voice. Whatever opinion you put out there is not going to be received or identified or validated. But then in the listening, man, you could learn who's really for you and who's not. So right now, I often have to tell myself that while I have now found my voice that I love, I also have to still quiet it now from me quieting it, not the outside, to continue that active listening, which was my first superpower. That's what I have to say.
That's beautiful.
I'm trying to be like y'all when I grow up. That's all I gotta say.
No, this is all powerful. This is all powerful.
Listen, future risers, let me tell you guys something. I need y'all to buckle up. I need you to lean in. And I want you to decide who's going to be in the room with you for this particular conversation, for the continuance of the conversation. Because we're about to get real. Miss Faith doesn't know anything but real. And so I just want you to make a decision in your living room, in your car, wherever you're at, to make sure that whoever's around you, as the conversation goes through, again, we always say if there's anything triggering, please make the best decision for yourself, for your household, for those in your environment. So I just wanted to remind you guys of that. We have not forgotten that as a messaging. We're still saying it. We just don't feel like we need to say it every time. However, with this particular topic, as we go along, everyone might not be ready. So we just want you to take care of you. Okay, part of our self-care, had to get that out the way. Hey, Miss Faith, who are you? What do you do? And why are you talking to raised voices today?
Oh my goodness, that could be the whole message right there. Who am I? And I'm a midwife in people's processes. I make connections with people and see with them where they are and help them take the next step. And so that looks like I'm mother to 3 adult neurodistinct humans. So that means that their experience in the world, because of how their neurology functions, is different and challenging. A combination of autism, anxiety, and OCD and other issues in my 3 humans that I get to parent. And so in that role, I get to be executive functioning brain, and I get to be advocate and activist around how do families like mine have place and space. I am also a ride or die friend. I'm the person that you want to have in your corner. I show up at your house when nobody's there. And I enjoy that about me. The other side of that, though, is that it can be lonely because I feel like I invest deeply in understanding people and helping them take the next step on every level. And that can reflect back as, whoa, where are the people in the space around me who will invest in that way in my own life, given the complexity of the life that I live with my humans. And also professionally, I use that kind of coming alongside people superpower to support organizations in their peopling, in their listening to the people on their teams, and in their listening to their clients in ways that are restorative and generative, and really unearthing some of the more harmful, supremacist, violent ideologies and processes that are in businesses and in organizations across the board. That we've inherited and that we've been blind to the harm involved, or maybe we've rationalized it. So I help organizations that are already eyes open who are now saying, hey, so how do we do this? How do we heal these old practices without shutting the business fully down or and so we talk teamwork, we talk conflict, we talk goal setting, we talk productivity in ways that fully include the human being in all the shapes, frames, and bodies that those humans exist in. So I want to leave the world better for my kids. And so I tend to just be like, what would be good for my kids? All right, I'm gonna do that.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Talk about the lonely, because I think we have hinted on that in other conversations. It sounds, remind me if I'm incorrect, but we have not dived into the empowering presence or person having to deal with the lonely walk or loneliness, yet they still show up to pour out.
Yeah, I think that's been interesting for me to just recognize it, because in my earlier life, though I would say, yeah, I was lonely, but I was so focused on all the things that I was doing. I am helping with the youth ministry. I am helping a friend's nonprofit do this thing. I am showing up at another person's house. So there's a way that life can be really full, and you're not tracking that a lot of it is outward and not necessarily coming back in the ways that you need. And I think a lot of, especially women, and perhaps especially Black women, being able to answer the question, what do I need? It's hard. But then when you can be honest and say, what do I need? And answer it, then you recognize, whoa, I don't have what I need. And it doesn't look like the people around me have the capacity, the resourcing or whatever to give me what I need. Then that's when the loneliness, I think, really kicks in, when you can. For me, I, as an Afro-Caribbean immigrant, so early years here as an immigrant woman who then left a career that was, and I was a computer engineer as an academic, and stopped that because of my son's autism. So I no longer have the community of my friends who are at work in their 9 to 5. I no longer have the community of my academic people, and even the accolades that community provided. I don't have that. So I'm kind of with my son with autism, but autism is not a monolith. Neither is Blackness or immigrant life, right? So everything is really specific. And the more you acknowledge your experience, then I to find like camaraderie, like, okay, where are the other autism parents? And we talk to them and then feel, wait, that doesn't help me. That doesn't help me. And that message over and over again, that doesn't help me. As a business person, I remember looking for all of the like Black consultants and Black coaches, Black American, and then like that doesn't feel resonant. That doesn't, and so that message all the time can feel like, wait, so where is my place?
Wow.
And so the loneliness is about especially the more intersectional identities you have, the more you recognize that, especially in this US individualized society where everything is almost like it's a tit for tat. Everything has to be, it's like a trade. Everything is that, so coming from the Caribbean, I feel there was more of this sense of communal life. Yes. In negative ways too. The little child on the street, somebody's going to parent your own kid. Like, no, I will feed him that. No, you cannot feed him. But there was a way that we held a community that's not here. So to kind of not be communally held, and I talk a lot in my work with organizations about belonging, to not be communally held and to own, oh, that's a core need that I have. But then also as a person who was very active in church, to be in church and to be cared for I know people care for me, but they are unable, not skilled with, unaware of how to actually just be community. And that means I am up, my son is up at night, or he may, when he was going through puberty, it was very, very difficult emotionally. And it's like people don't know how to just be in space with people. And now I think I'm the person who I just show up and it's like, what's happening? You're having difficulty. What? Here, give me that cloth. Let me, that kind of just show up and be in space with people as they feel what they feel, as they go through. We've bought into this idea in this America. Last thing I'll say, we've bought into this idea that you have to have the right answer, which is a structure of whiteness. This right answer is a part of white supremacy ideology.
Oh, yes.
And so we've kind of adopted it now, and so we can't go to people to be helpful if we don't know the right thing to do. So people will say to me, I don't know how to help a person who's parenting a kid with autism. I'm like, you don't have to know. I didn't know either. And support is not about knowing, but we do, that's kind of in society here. So there is a lot of leaving people to figure their lives out in the name of agency and autonomy. That's really.
Oh,
so
I
that
love
was,
that. I
Ooh,
love that.
that
Miss
was
Sounds,
good.
I know of 3 or 4 spots in there that's your spot. I'm
Yeah.
gonna sit back because I heard 4 for sure of things you brought up before. So I'm just let
Yeah.
you do what you do when you do it.
Yeah, no, all of this is very resonant. I think it would be like a two-parter. One would be that the first thing you talked about concerning that this repeating kind of subconscious that doesn't help me. That runs in the background of a lot of people that are very skilled at showing up and pouring out, but don't really find that around them. My first question about that is how does that not turn into hopelessness?
Ooh.
And then my second question is in your breakdown of collectivist culture, individualistic culture, like America, Western culture, um, versus some of our like ancestral ways of being. There's this way in which both of these can be very extreme, where you can be totally isolated and totally individual, saying, I don't need anyone. I can do this by myself. I can figure it out. And then you can be in this collectivist space where it's like, I live for everyone else here, right? And even if these aren't the needs I want met, I got to take it because I live for the community. And so they can be polarizing when you are trying to navigate what that feels like in living in American culture when you're assessing your needs. So in all of that, as we're wrestling through all that, how do we not become hopeless in not finding anyone to help or not even knowing what we need because we are so bombarded with this community-centered living?
Yeah. So I'll start with the first one and just say, I think it depends on what you believe. I had to double down on this belief. People like me exist.
Wow.
People like me exist. I didn't just come up on this on my own. I'm a byproduct of gangster grandmother and my mother, so like the fact that I have ancestors and other people in my life that kind of nourished this in me, it means those are the people and I need to find them, and that God needs to send them to me, or my life needs to go where they are. And so there's a part of my journey where I was training volunteers and interns to help support me homeschooling my son with autism. And at the beginning, I was like, there's no way I can find people who would volunteer. I have no money. There's no way I can find people who would volunteer. And then I shifted that belief to like, my son's life is amazing and valuable. And when people get in his presence, they will grow and shift. So then, and I was just like, I'm his person. Like, he's a Jedi master. I'm his management. I'm inviting you into his presence so that you can shift your internal life. Like my internal life has been challenged and shifted. That shift in belief, the people to me, that was useful for his program. And so when I'm in those moments, like, I think the thing for me is that it's easier for me to see something outside of myself and then ask me or feel the invitation to like, wait, how does that apply to me? Right. So when I saw that shift happen, and sidebar, I'm willing to have a different perspective because of my children faster than I'm willing to have it for myself.
Ooh, yeah.
So then God is sneaky, right? God is just like, yeah, do it for the kids. And then I'm like,
yeah,
wait
me too. Me too.
Wait a second. So as I'm watching myself shift my own belief and attract the people that my kids and my family need, people that know to me exist. And what then do I either need to do, or is this patience? What's the invitation in this moment as I live in this grand in between? And a lot of life is that in between, whether it's on the way to the not yet, right? So then how do I live in the in between of the thing I know to be true? So that's the kind of how I process hopelessness. It's about how do I keep trusting for right now. And I think that the dichotomy between individualism and collectivism isn't a real dichotomy. I think that what happens in a mostly individualistic society, or a largely individualistic society, is that because there are elements of extreme, it's not collectivism, but extreme group control that we don't want, anything that looks like it's over there feels like a threat. And so we kind of tighten up around it. And so I think, number one, if we can admit that a lot of the things that we're concerned about are really harmful things and are not true collectivism, then we can keep protecting our lives from those things. But a lot of the things that are on the individualistic side are also not true individuality, because my own sense of self as a human being, as nature, living in an ecosystem, I require input from the environment, which is other humans, right? And so for me, then, if I kind of eliminate the poles, both bad, then the question becomes, how do I create, co-create, or be a part of communities that honor individuality, honor individual differences? Like, yes, your individual differences really matter, and integrate those differences into something communal, into something, right? And it's that tension. What's the yes and? The false binary, the this or that exists. So the moment you say yes, you hear the no, the flip side that you can't have. So if I say yes to this, it means I can't have that. And I'm like, listen, humans, we've put people in Mars and the rover. We've done amazing things with our brains, right? So when we come up on that, this means not this, I'm like, no, actually, our brains have done amazing things. This is what we're looking for. And if we stay at the table long enough, we will find the yes. We will find the yes that honors individual differences, and the yes that creates the communal integration, the communal wholeness. But we must, and I'm going to stop talking now.
No, you're saying the things.
This is the thing. We must shift our belief that saying yes to one means saying no to the other. And we must then, with the new belief, say, ask the how question. And so that's like, for me in community right now, I'm in a lot of communal transition, giving myself permission to grieve the communities or the people that don't meet the needs I feel critical now, while trusting that the other people exist. Is the journey, right? And kind of keeping eyes open and hopeful as I interact with others. And it's like knowing that the meeting of my needs is not any one particular person or even community's responsibility. But then as I be faithful to the breathing out, trust myself to breathe in and breathe in nourishment, right? So that's like trust myself in the receiving from wherever, and allow that to nourish me to give back out and to kind of stay in that dance.
Beautiful.
But how are you managing, therefore, the falsehood of wants appearing as needs and vice versa? Because there is a bit of a teeter-totter that can happen where someone feels like, as I'm transitioning from an old communal ideology society caste, lack of a better word, and now looking for the other or my people or those who may better not only not supply but support my need, not supply, right? Because I believe the supplying of your needs is your responsibility, but the support is more of a communal thing, right? That should be more of that. But some people, I'm going to say in society, let's call it those who are high valued or high functional, sometimes intertwine and mix up and therefore mess up wants and needs in terms of that pivot. So how do we measure that? Or if we're going to ask the how, what are the questions, right? That how needs to start with, just to make sure we're not here citing needs. And it's really, no, that's what you want. You want that pivot to that communal focus or suburb or rural landing, because you just want what you want.
See, here's the thing. Communities need to be willing to sit with that. Again, part of what we've inherited is fast answers. So let's think about ourselves as parents. A kid comes to us and says, "Hey, mommy, I want whatever." And then we sit in a process of discernment. Like you go back and forth, you ask some questions.
Yeah, you do.
And then you're like, wait, but you didn't sleep all night last night. So although you say you want this thing, what you mean you want is that thing. But I'm not even when interacting with adults within community, it's not like I'm going to know what you need for you, but I take your request as information and I'm committed to trusting you to know what you want.
Okay.
Part of what we are recovering from is the value hierarchy of humans. The people lower down in the hierarchy are held more accountable for breaking the rules, but are also not allowed to say what they need. They receive the wisdom of people higher up, right? Yes. And so the first thing for me in community is, how do I make sure this person builds the ability to trust their own voice? Back to our initial, right? And so my temptation to say, it don't look like, sorry, this is me speaking.
It's all right. Go ahead. Do language. Who will listen, go on.
It don't look like this is what you need. This doesn't look like the thing that's going to meet my needs. And but now with my adult kids, this is exactly where we're at. I'm looking at them and I'm like, this isn't really going to solve it. But more important than any specific solution that community provides or that is sought is everybody must build in their ability to interrogate themselves and trust themselves. And I must not thwart that by saying, I don't think I know more than you, right? So step number one. Step number two, when community comes together then to hold communal responsibility for need fulfillment, this kind of wrestling, trusting a person and this wrestling, I think community voices come together to form the central voice of the community. In a way, it takes time, but in a way that helps us to create solutions that it may not be specifically tailored. Somebody said that they need bacon. Somebody else says that they want is cheese. And then we as community together say, oh, it's salty foods that we're looking for.
Yes.
And as we do that work together, we're like, oh, salty foods. All right. So salty foods, chips, and then everybody co-creating this thing of, this is how we could meet this need is part of what we need. So I think this, again, the differentiation between wants and needs, I think has to be done individually, but community has to be willing to take time to just share discernment.
I just need to tell you that you are awesome. Okay. See, that's what you do. Like when somebody got I'm telling you, a beastly flow, and I mean that with respect. So those of you who have understanding will get it. Okay. Yeah. When they got a beastly flow and you can't salute, or you just don't want to run around the room, you just say, yo, you are an amazing person. That's what you do. Yeah. That's manners. I think my mama just gave me a hug for that. Mom, I think I did all right? My manners came out, because I'm just trying to tell you, there's a lot of action in my mind. Miss Sounds, do what you do, because I already feel it.
Ooh, I got a question.
I feel it.
Yes, I recently wrote something that touched on my cultural experiences and the current life that I'm building now, that is more of an integrated life of some of the beautiful parts of the culture and the things that I really value.
Yes.
And so I've been teasing out some of the values of the culture that have maybe rubbed me the wrong way or traumatized me or whatever the case, right? And you just spoke about doing the work as a community to really tease out what we really need here. I was mentioning that what you just said about assessing the needs of the community, I can't divorce that from the assessing of the emotions of the people in the community, right? Like, I don't think that we can do that without assessing how people feel. and why they feel that way. And so a lot of my discovery about certain cultural elements of mine have really been eye-opening, in that some of the ways in which we keep order is that we avoid emotional wandering.
Yeah.
We don't want to go into the messiness of what people feel. And so we keep order by really keeping it very pragmatic, very practical, straight to the point. And we just summarize, get to the point, right? And so and then we also have this hierarchy of respect in our cultures. Like, elders are the all-knowing people, right? They're the wise ones that we're empty receptacles for their wisdom, that kind of thing, right? And so
The invisible button. I just
and there is no space for what I feel or what I think about this, because it keeps order when I follow the elders and I follow the rules and I follow the structure. And so I'm just wondering how you see this idea of emotions playing a vital role in just enhancing the communal aspect of people to people living and doing what's best for the collective.
I think I want to comment on two, I guess, elements of this. And I don't want to lose the thread of emotions. But I want to say that supremacist ideology wasn't born with whiteness, right? And so supremacist ideology in terms of relating human to human relationships based on a supremacist framework shows up the same way, regardless of the parameters of the supremacy, so gender or race or whatever, right? So this idea that the people higher up, and so every time I'm in an organization, I'm looking for this. The people higher up know more and know what's good for the people lower down. That, as a rule, is just a signal of supremacist ideology. And when we say we want to redesign community in ways that are more equitable, in ways that are more inclusive, that facilitate belonging for everybody, what we're saying is, oh, we're upending that. And then most of us are like, upended to what?
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I was so happy when I became a parent. Thank God I had somebody to control. And, like when I'm a teacher in the classroom, I'm like, you do what I say, right? Because I've been the person who didn't get to do it. And now, like, I grew to the point where I had the power, and then I get to exercise that power. And that's been the arc that we've all had.
Yes.
And so just acknowledging that whole system, we've lived it for generations, and figuring out what the other way isn't going to be straightforward because we haven't really lived it. We're going to have to just discern it and try, different things out.
Yeah.
And so this, within that structure, for whatever reason, mostly on the European side of things. And so I think a lot of us, as part of our own growth, the mature version of Black personhood is the more like shutting down of emotions or whatever. The more you will describe the more emotional side of things as unhinged and too much and ratchet, or there's a way that we see emotional expression in our own communities and we critique it, right?
Yeah.
So part of this has to be, well, first of all, before we can even have emotional expression, it's not going to be safe to do it, to have emotional expression in our communities if we are not willing to interrogate what's my relationship to emotional expression.
Sure.
My daughter said to me, Mommy, are you afraid of your emotions? And I'm like, no.
Yeah.
But I didn't get angry until I was like 35. So as much as my brain says, no, of course not. I mean, I've studied doctoral psychology. I understand the importance of emotions, and of course. But the fact that I didn't give myself permission to be angry until I was in my 30s means that in the environment around me, there is a message that says either the emotions are going to harm me or it's going to move me down in the hierarchy or whatever. So step one has to be, what's the place of emotions? Emotions are like native to this organism.
Yeah.
like any other feature of the organism. And the stories that have made us not trust them are stories that are anti-human. We need to acknowledge that and then interrogate them and say, well, what are the messages that even the story that says, yes, you feel an emotion, but you have to check what's underneath it. I'm like, where's that coming from? That says don't trust the emotion. All of our messages that say don't trust emotions, we have to be willing to interrogate them and say, why? What's the purpose of that message?
Wow.
Because often our emotions are the very first indicators. There's sensation, there's perception, there's emotion. And the closer we can get to, oh, I felt a thing, it made me perceive a thing, and I felt a certain kind of way in my emotions. The closer we can get to that, the more access to our wisdom that we have. So I guess the short version after that runaround is that, one, we have to interrogate our beliefs, our own emotions, because most of those beliefs have come to us from systems that are devaluing humans. And then two, to kind of be in a place individual where we can deconstruct the path to our own emotions and see the wisdom that we get. So that three, we can hold space for each other in the expression of emotion without feeling fear. When my kids in the various moments of overwhelm or sensory, experience big emotions that look scary, my management of myself has to be about, it's still safe. It's safe for them and it's safe for me, for them to be having big emotions. And so whatever I need to do to kind of get myself, I am safe, they are safe, we're all fine. We can scream if we need to, So it's essential. It's essential.
All right. So Future Rises. I have to stop here.
What's your Zell, Faith?
I need a runaround moment, and I cannot do that on camera, even though this is my house. Okay. This virtual space right here with my guests and my wonderful co-host, but I need a runaround moment. So what does that mean for you? You're going to have to come back to part 2. That's what I mean. I need an adult timeout because I feel like part 2 is going to get personal because I have personal questions happening in here.
All right.
Because I feel like I'm on the therapy couch. That's what's happening. So,
yes, ma'am.
Go drink your water because I want y'all to stay hydrated. If you want to do your protein water, that's great too, or your coconut water for those of us who are still very cultural. Come back to part 2. That's how we end in that. I still think I'm keeping my manners, but I need a runaround moment because I got some personal question for Miss Faith Clarke. See y'all soon.